You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markoski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.
Welcome back.
Hi guys, welcome back to The Ugly Truth.
Hello.
Now, I'd like to introduce Vaughan Liddicoat here, our special guest today.
Hello.
Thank you for coming to the show.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, it's a very exciting show. What we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about mindset. But one example we're going to talk about later on, so be patient, is how Vaughan got one of his clients from Jobless to a $620 million real estate deal, which is very exciting.
Pretty amazing.
So we're going to talk about that later. And just want to say thank you to our listeners because we just hit 42 in America in self-help section.
So we're very excited about that.
We're very excited about that.
That's awesome.
So thank you, our American audience, which is great, which is very exciting. So, Vaughan,
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for having me down here. This is a very nice place to be. Well, I guess one of the interesting things is I can remember meeting you at the Penfold Grange wine tour, and I remember hitting it off the bat with you guys, and so thanks for having me down. But one of the interesting things I found was that when I was 17 years old, I remember sitting inside my math classroom. It was a blue sky day, and I was reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have you ever read that book?
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So this book was a fascinating book because I was sucking at math. Right? I was completely failing. The math teacher came up to me and goes, "Put that book away." And I said, "Sir, when I finish this book, I can go out and hire people to do my math." And he looked at me and he went, "You can read for the rest of the year."
Really?
Right? And that was in year 12.
Wow.
And so what I remember in that moment is it really changed my life because I was like, information is nothing unless you apply it, but you have to know what information to apply. And that set me on a journey of personal development. And at 19 years old, I ended up hiring Bob Proctor, the star of The Secret, to coach me for 13 months.
Bob Proctor, now
he's the man.
He's amazing. He's an amazing guy. He's been doing mindset for how long now?
Over 50 years.
Over 50 years.
Yes.
Because I first encountered Bob Proctor back when I started real estate back in 92. And there was a program, You Were Born Rich.
That's right, yes.
Amazing program.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about. That's what I saw. And that sort of just made me go, oh my God, what is this information? No one's teaching this, right? The education system's not working. And that sort of lit a fire, if you will. And the interesting thing was, at that moment, I was like, well, I've got a choice here, right? We all face these moments in our life where we've got to make these defining decisions, if you will. And because I had no on-paper options, I'd failed school. I was working as a dishwasher and selling cable TV door to door. Very hard road to go down. I was like, you know what I want to do? I'd like to travel the world dancing with a pretty girl on my arm.
Oh,
why? How cool would that be,
awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
So and of course, figure out how to make that into, maybe make that into a business, maybe not, but figure out how to do that, because most people, when you say, I want to do something creative in the art field, they're saying you're going to be poor, right?
That's right, absolutely. They would. And that's a big goal. And how old were you then?
Yeah, I was 19.
Wow, and you decided you wanted to dance around the world.
That's it. I wanted to be a ballroom dancer, if you will. And my dad was super proud, right? He's like, "Do you still like girls?" I was like, "Yes." He goes, "Then you can go and do that."
Did you have a history of dancing when you were sort of growing up? What sort of made you choose dancing then?
That's a good question, actually. I had a little bit of experience. I tried ballet. Don't do that if you're at an all-boys school, right? And I did a little bit of sort of tap and jazz, not very much, a bit of dabbling, but I didn't really have any skills. And that's what I think is important for people to hear. When I decided to do that, I literally was not a talented dancer. My coach said, "You're a donkey, you're no good." And I said, "That's cool. I just want to do it because I can dance with her. I mean, come on, that would be awesome." And that was one of the most important decisions. The second decision was I would learn from Bob how to apply the principles of success and philosophy and prosperity thinking, if you will. And I'd give myself a 10-year apprenticeship to study a fiend on this material because it was just so important. I was like, wow, nobody teaches you how to think, right? Nobody teaches you about abundance or how to create wealth within your life, not just monetarily, but within relationships and your mindset. And I was like, I'm going to study everything I can and then apply it to the dancing as well, because to become good in that field, it's not just about the technicality, right? It's actually about your mindset, the philosophy you operate with to push you through the pain every day of training 6 hours a day, 6 days a week,
Already 6 hours a day?
Yeah, having no money and and sacrificing everything to go over the world, travel, get lessons all over the place and dedicate yourself to something.
So that was full on. So you must have got a lot of joy from it. Something was pushing you to want to do dancing.
That's right.
And keep going with it.
Yeah.
So when was it, I guess, that you sort of started monetizing that?
That's an interesting question. It's funny, at the outset, I'd never really thought of turning it into something that I could make money from, because like even the top dancers, they really don't make
Yeah, because
much.
even winning competitions not going to really do anything.
The number one in the world, they make like $3,000 if they win the competition. You have to be the number one though, and that's hard. And like it's not golf, you know. So you do it because you love it.
Yes.
That's the first thing to like.
So how long did it take you to sort of get up in the ranks or become good at it?
It literally, the 10-year goal, we did it in 8. And part of that was going to London and training with the best coaches in the world and moving over.
How did you know you made it?
Cool.
Like, what was the point? What was the one point where you said, this is it?
Yeah, funnily enough, and I think this is really important when people set out to achieve goals, it never really felt like we'd made it. I still felt like a beginner, even though our results reflected we were like professionals. And so on paper, we knew, because we were 4 times representative for Australia. Right, well, the number one selection to go and represent Australia at the World Championships.
That's fantastic.
So we knew that, but it still felt like so much more to learn.
Yeah,
right?
And I guess you would have done like a lot of networking and meeting the right people to sort of get involved with traveling around the world as well, because you can't just decide you're going to travel around the world. You've got to do a lot of research and things like that. So how did you go about that?
I like how you said that, because I work in reverse. I was like, I'm going to travel the world and figure that out, right?
And do it as you go. So you sort of bootstrapped as you went.
Bootstrapped the whole thing, because like the only thing we had was beautiful family. We had great support, which is very important. But it was very much a case of getting creative, right?
So and who did you do it with?
My beautiful now wife.
Fantastic! Wow. Okay.
Something really.
So
good,
so were you guys dating when you first started dancing?
Oh no, not
no.
at all. No. Like
right.
I said, that was like the desire. You said before something pulled you, it was her at first. Then the passion.
So that gave you the motivation.
So she was already dancing, and
yes.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, fantastic! So you went through this journey, and you became world class, which is amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Well
it's
done.
an amazing achievement. You must be very proud of that.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. It's good fun to be able to cha-cha. Bust out a few dances here and there. It's good.
That's awesome. And now you've got a dance school, basically.
Yeah, we've got a dance studio. We do a few things online as well within the dance world, trying to make things bigger than just learning to dance and teaching lessons. There's so many more opportunities, because once you get the right thinking, you start to see there's opportunity everywhere, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So with dancing, there's a lot of varieties.
Yeah.
So what do you specifically do? What do you specialise in?
So what we specialise in is called 10 dance. So essentially it's one of the hardest disciplines, because you've got 5 ballroom and then 5 Latin dances that you actually have to compete in, and you're judged over all 10. So you have to be adept at all of them. So it's not like strictly come dancing or Dancing with the Stars or anything like that. It's pretty athletic. It's quite intense in terms of workout.
Yeah.
But it's 2 minutes on the floor per dance, and then you do multiple rounds throughout the day to get to a final. And then that's how the day is judged, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, so it's quite full on.
Well, it's a funny story that you talk about how there's a lot of online things with your dancing.
Yep.
So I've been following you, and we've been Facebook friends for a while, and I've been seeing your dance class schools come up online, basically. And dancing has been a big passion of mine.
That's awesome.
Growing up, I did dancing for 10 years.
That's cool.
And then I sort of felt like I needed to do something else. So I tried, kickboxing. So I quit dancing.
Whoa.
And I've been out of dancing for probably almost 7 years now, and I always felt like a piece of me was missing.
Really? What dance style did you do?
I did jazz growing up.
Jazz, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, and I loved it, and it was something I really looked forward to, like every week, just going there and dancing with my friends and just doing it. It wasn't like nothing professional. It was all like just for fun sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
And I'd been seeing, your dance class on Facebook, and been seeing your ballroom stuff that you're doing, and probably after a few months of seeing that, it probably took about 6 months of seeing that constantly, it like triggered something in my brain, and I was like, I really want to do this again. Like, I want to take it up again. This has inspired me.
That's cool.
And I actually clicked on your page, and I was like, damn it, he's in Canberra. So I wanted to join your dance school.
That's awesome.
And I was like so upset when I found it was in Canberra, but I was like, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to take up dancing again anyway.
Good
so
for you.
My sister, she sort of continued with dancing, because she was in the same dance school as me. So she moved on and found this school, Latino Grooves, in the city. So she sent me an invite to one of the upcoming classes.
Cool.
So I've started Samba again.
That's
so I've started
awesome.
dancing again. So I've taken taken up my passion again because of you. So thank you so much.
That's so awesome.
I know. I'm really happy,
That's
and
wonderful
it's
to
brought
hear.
so much joy back to my life. And
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's what happens when you like connect to a passion. And I'm waiting to see, George, are you going to be joining in? Get some jazz or samba, that'd be awesome.
Oh, look, I do a bit of a street Latin.
That's cool.
George is a great
That makes
dancer.
sense.
Yeah.
So explains the beard. This is what happens. We get the beard, we get the moves.
So I quite like doing a bit of Ciroc, and
Yeah.
it's good fun.
Good to show off at parties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've only learned a few basic moves probably about 20 years ago. But when you string them all together, it looks good.
But
It's got a lot of fun.
I love what you're talking about, because like that's the first thing is people think, oh, how do I monetize this? That's what's wrong. It's like that's the wrong
You don't
question.
need to.
What do you love? And what do you enjoy doing, regardless if you get paid, regardless of the obstacles, and have something like that. We need a creative outlet, whether it's dance, writing, whatever.
Yeah.
It's very different for everyone. Some people treat business as a creative outlet, so it really just depends on the person, right?
That's right.
Yeah, monetization's a big buzzword at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's face it, everyone talks about monetization, and people talk about getting your passion and monetizing it and stuff like that. And I think it's possible, and I think it's a good idea anyway. But you can't monetize everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to do something you love.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
what makes you happy.
suppose this podcast. I mean, we're not monetizing this podcast, but we love it. It's good fun. We get to meet some amazing people and talk about things we love.
That's
which
right.
is great.
It's interesting you talk about that, because the word leisure is like something that comes to mind with that, because most people there's two common questions that come when we see a talented dancer or we see a talented speaker or someone we could maybe coach, and then the first thing that comes out is like, when are you going to get serious about it, right? If they've got the talent, and then, or when are you going to get serious about something else? Right. And that's a real big problem, right? Because why don't you just do it because you like doing it, and then figure out strategies like investing in real estate or creating other streams of income to fund that passion, right? And that's what I really spent the last 10 to 15 years doing, is learning how to do that. Because if you don't get paid for it, who cares? Like, your lifestyle shouldn't drop, right? Because with dancing, you don't get paid. Like, I don't get paid from that.
You don't, no.
So we had to create other ways to do that, so we could still enjoy that lifestyle of training hard and traveling and that sort of thing.
Do you still train hard and still dance?
We retired in October, so it's interesting to have weekends free, I must say. It's quite nice.
Yep. So leisure. What's your definition of leisure?
Yeah, so leisure, it comes from a philosophy lecture I listened to, and really it comes from a Latin word called to give yourself license to do whatever you want, right? That's a broad definition of it, but that's what it means. Most people think leisure is recreational, like spare time, like what you do in maybe after hours. That's not what it means. And I've got a great example of Sir Isaac Newton. So he was considered a man of leisure, right? People think he wasn't that. He was actually writing sermons and supposed to deliver them in a church. Right? He hated doing this. This is not the work he liked doing. What he liked to do was mathematical physics and translate the Old Testament from Hebrew to English in his spare time. He loved doing that. That was his thing, right? That was his mojo.
Isaac Newton was an amazing person.
That's his passion, though.
I mean, his book was change science forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it Principia Mathematica?
Principia Mathematica, something like that. I don't have any idea. I'm suck at math.
The funny thing is, he also loved alchemy.
Yes, that's right.
And one of his passions was to try to make lead into gold.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
That's an alchemist.
Yep,
Did
totally.
he figure it out?
No.
No, you can't. You haven't.
That was like the quirky science.
I was going to say.
Back in those days, they didn't realise things are made out of atoms.
Yeah.
You can't actually get lead into gold. You can, but it's not feasibly possible.
That's right.
Is that like turning water into wine sort of thing?
That's exactly right. Yeah. What's interesting about that as a small example is that his time was surrounded by an obsession, like an obsession or a passion.
He was
really
totally
loved to do,
obsessed.
that he would utterly exhaust himself doing his work outside of that. And that's what's interesting. Most people think I should do something that's comfortable. Like, leisure's messed up. Like, people think they should be relaxed. It's like, no. Like, I love what I do, and I'm sure you guys love what you do. You'll do it regardless, right? You just love the work and the joy it brings, and that's what this really means. Nietzsche said it. He said that to be free, and what we all want to do is to be free and to have time to do what we want to do. He's like, if you have 2/3 of your day to yourself, you're considered free. Essentially, that's really where you can have your time to do whatever you want, your leisure, and that's one thing I hope inspires.
But
people.
leisure's not about sitting around the pool.
Definitely not.
Because that's not really. I mean,
no way.
I get what you're saying. I mean, when I retired, because I retired when I was 37.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I thought leisure was travel, having fun, partying.
That's what people think it is.
And it was fun, but after a while I got bored of it.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to write my book and get back into it.
That's awesome.
And when I had dinner with Tim Ferriss, he sort of gave me the ideas, sort of, because when I went away from having that dinner with Tim Ferriss, he sort of he said, if you love it, if you're good at it, if you're great at it, the world needs it, and you get paid for it, that's your passion.
And that's your purpose, really.
That's your purpose, yeah. And that's when I sort of training people and teaching people how to do real estate.
That's awesome.
And you're right. It's a labour of love what you do in life.
It's a labour of love.
And it's almost like being in the flow state, isn't it?
It is.
Right?
It gets you to that. And that's the joy of life, the fulfillment is in those moments.
The flow state is an amazing state that you can't get sitting around doing nothing.
No.
You got to be occupied, and time just disappears. And that's the exciting thing.
It's completely creative. And again, people hear leisure and think, oh, what do I do in my downtime? In the ancient Greeks, if you said, I'm going to watch TV for 30 hours, you were a failed human, right? Like that, you were like, that is not what your time is for. And then we've got this, we really have to recalibrate the work-life thing, because work is something you must do.
Yes.
Therefore, you're not giving yourself license to do the thing you really want to.
No.
So you're not living where you should as a human. Like the ultimate goal really is to have the ability and the capacity to say, I want to spend my life dancing, so I'm going to do that. And then people say, well, it doesn't matter what they say, but you can do it anyway.
Of course.
Right? And you set up the systems in the modern economy to actually do that. So you can paint, draw, give to charities, work with orphans, or be a painter in the house if you want to do that.
The thing is, what you're saying is a very important point. But we go through school, because I remember when I was doing matriculation, and they gave us some options and said, "What do you want to do?" And I was
options?
like, "Well, what options? Go to uni, or go to uni."
Oh, right.
That was my options, right?
That's still seen as the only option.
And so I ended up thinking, wow, I want to do electronic engineering. Not because I wanted to do it, but there was very limited ideas, and I knew I could get in, and it was uni, and apparently it was a really cool job. Right. And
you heard
so
paid well, so that was motivation.
And it was the money side as well.
Sure.
You can get a good job, you can work hard and do that. So I got in, and then while I was waiting to get to uni, luckily I ended up getting a job selling teddy bears and ended up becoming an art dealer and didn't go to uni, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Good on you.
But I didn't realise at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My parents were very disappointed that I didn't go to uni.
Interesting.
But it was the best thing I ever did, because the thing is, if you're not passionate about something, you don't love it, why do it?
Well, what a waste of a life.
It's a complete waste of
I think we
life.
sort of get boxed in with society telling us you need to do this to become this. And
yes.
People's idea of success is, go to school, go to uni, get a job, pay your taxes, and then
save retirement, and then finally, when you're 65 and you retire, you can do what you really want to do.
Do you know where retirement actually came from?
No.
So this is the power of ideas, and that's what we're really talking about here is people are fixed with their ideas. They grow up with these ideas about getting educated from a young age. Education is to do this.
Yep.
And it actually comes from a guy called Otto von Bismarck. In the 18th century, he was a German politician, and basically he said, you vote for me, and when you retire at a certain age, or when you finish at a certain age in your work career, I'll give you a pension for the rest of your lives. They're not very generous, right? Like how many people lived past 60 in the 18th century?
Not many
But he
people
got
at all.
voted in.
Yes.
Now the Americans saw that, and then they adopted it as well.
Oh, really?
So retirement's an idea,
okay.
but we grow up in thinking it's normal, but it's just an idea, and it's a terrible idea, because why should you finish work? Well, if you are working, the definition of that is doing something you must do, which is not giving yourself license to do the thing you really want to do.
But if you really want to do something, why stop doing what you love?
That's the whole
So
point.
really,
Why
if you
retire?
can find what you love, you don't want to retire.
That's right.
And that's the key.
Yeah, that's what
The key is
that's the
doing
whole
that.
point. Yeah.
And the thing is, though, we live in a capitalist society.
Yes,
Let's
of
face
course.
it. And the fact of it is, you still need to pay the rent and get food and things like that.
Of course.
So it is challenging.
You've got to survive.
It's not
I
easy.
want to be real. Like I think it's easy to get caught up in like utopian philosophical ideas. It sounds amazing.
There's all these Facebook ads going, oh yeah, you live it on your laptop, and you can make $1 million a day or whatever it is. It's crazy, and it's not realistic. However, there are certain things people can do to get them to where they need to be.
Definitely.
And so where would someone start if they don't like their job, they hate their job, and they want to live their passion? I suppose one step would be you need to know what you love and what you want.
That's
a lot of people don't even know what
It
they want.
sounds so
That's
obvious.
true, yeah.
But when I ask most people, what do you want?
They don't know, yeah.
Like they have no idea, and it's very hard to actually decide. And part of that reason is because they're operating out of a very limited thinking.
Yes.
Right? They're raised to think a certain way. Then you break that, which is part of free thinking. It's hard to do at first.
Very hard, because a lot of
But you gotta train yourself,
a lot of
right?
people on the surface, what happens is commercials and advertising tells them what they want, and you go, what do you want? I want a Ferrari, I want to go to the Greek islands, I want to do this, I want to do that. But do you really want to do that, or are you programmed to want to do that? You know what I mean? Why do you want a Ferrari? Why do you want to go there? Because really, you got to find
where's that idea come from? You know?
Is a Ferrari going to make you happier?
Is it your own idea, or is it society's idea of what you should want?
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting you talk about the education model. Like the model's broken, right? Like I think people are really understanding that. You know, school, college, work for life, that's all broken. Retiring.
Well, it was all made to create workers, wasn't it?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And work at drone bees, and going to 9 to 5 or whatever, or 3 to 6 to 3, whatever it is. Yeah. Crazy.
But if we look at the word education, it actually means to draw out and lead from within. The actual point of education, this is what's really crazy, I only just learned this, is that education is actually supposed to be useless. And this is very strange for people because it actually trains you to go to work when we come out of our system.
Yes.
It's actually supposed to, what it's supposed to do is to make you a whole person that's bringing out from within to do whatever you want to do. So if some people want to aspire to something big, that's great. If some people just want to stay at home and run their house, that's fine. Because education is creating a whole person, right? Not to go to work specifically. And it's so fascinating. And so one of the things that kicks in for you, probably for you guys as well, like for me, and I hope the listeners as well, is self-education is the key.
Oh, look.
If totally agree.
Addicted to studying, learning about yourself.
In the old days, we used to leave it up to the school teacher and the schools and the system tell us what to do, and the government. But really, if you want a life that you want to live, it's really up to you.
Yeah,
no one else. You can't leave it up to the government or the.
And you've got to seek out the right resources to be able to do that.
That's right. Yeah.
The thing is, we've never had an opportunity in history to really take our future where we want it in the past.
I agree.
Like in the old days before education, there was apprenticeships, and you did whatever your father or uncle did. Your father was a blacksmith, you became a blacksmith.
I think the internet has really changed that.
Horse shit, and that's what you did, right?
That's what you did. Yeah.
But,
and your name was Jack Horseshit.
That's right, exactly. And now I guess there's the first time in history where we've got enough abundance,
it's possible
and we've got enough things so people can actually do whatever you want. You can monetize your passion.
I think the online sort of whole revolution has enabled people to be able to do.
The internet has changed the world. It's amazing.
Well, that's the answer to what you said before. Where do people start? Well, what they want. The second thing is to think, then how do I do it? The internet is the place to go.
Because that barrier to entry has come down
Well,
drastically.
information's free now.
Yeah.
Just about. The problem is we've got too much information.
Yeah.
So you don't know what
that's
to
why you
listen
need to
to
get.
and what
That's
to
why you
do.
need to get the right mentor or coach to give the right information.
There it is.
Because
at the right time,
you need to distill it. Because the thing is, like, I do property mentorship, right? And there's lots of different strategies in properties, and mine's not the only one. But mine works specific people. It's people know me for a long time. I'm not a big fan of the complicated strategy that take hours of your time. I like the quickest way from point A to point B. I'm very passive into my real estate investing, and that really works well for people.
Right.
But having too many strategies is not good. You only need one.
That's right.
Because you have two, that's actually worse than one.
Yes.
And then 5 is worse than 1 because the more options.
Yeah.
A lot of people think more options is better because we've been educated to do that. One flavour of ice cream, then we've got 20, now we've got 500. But really, it's just ice cream.
People want less options
They just
as
want
well.
vanilla, strawberry, or chocolate.
Yeah, so we've
Neapolitan,
and occasionally some of the fancy stuff.
Well, we're getting more and more choices in life, and it gets harder for people because they're overwhelmed with too many choices. And that's why a coach is very important to help people find the path to get there.
Especially one who's going through the paces or been through the paces similar to the journey that you're
Absolutely.
on.
Someone who's been there and done it and
having
got the
a coach
results.
that hasn't done what they want to teach you, and that's the problem these days. You've got so many coaches out there that are going, I'm going to teach you how to do this. Have you done it yourself? Well, not yet. Well, how are you going to teach me? Like, you can't.
That's right.
It doesn't work that way. You need experience.
Well, that's the difference between like a coach and a teacher. A teacher can learn something and they can just repeat it.
Yes.
And a coach understands and knows what actually happened and what it takes.
A coach is very different to a teacher.
Definitely.
A coach can actually help mold you and push you in that direction.
That's
a
right.
teacher is just going to regurgitate stuff and get you to regurgitate it back.
Yeah.
Great. How awesome.
I like what you're saying about the internet because by 2020, 3 billion people are coming online. Like the opportunity now is so great that people have a hard time conceptualizing it.
It's huge.
It's so immense where everything's going, like automation. By 2030, 30% of jobs worldwide are going to be automated.
Look, AI is going to take any. You look at any specialists like doctors that are specialists, lawyers, people that drive cabs, people that drive trucks. All that is going to get taken over automation.
That's right.
Factory workers. They even got a robot that makes burgers now.
That's right. I saw that one. They're flipping. So the question is always how do people position for that? Because this is what comes down to the very fundamental of changing your life is skilling up with self-education in an area that you love, right? Being the best at it by contributing to it daily, reading in the field, getting around people, networking.
See, totally.
Becoming a weapon in
absolutely.
your area.
So basically the philosophy is you can't get more than what you've got unless you become more than what you are.
Perfect.
And that's what it's all about.
That's exactly it.
Because, however, there's no point being general. You need to choose a passion and be the best at it.
That's right.
The best that you can be. Because if you're the best version of yourself at one thing, you're going to be really good at that. There's no point being mediocre.
That's right. What
a waste.
Yeah.
Because then you won't have the results either.
Well, no. I mean, you either love something or you don't. If you love something, you're going to be really good at it.
Absolutely.
If you hate something, you're not going to be able to practice and do it well. You know?
That's right. Yeah. So how did you, I guess, use the internet to start monetizing your passion?
Yeah, so so went to England, 2011.
Yep.
Worked a whole career to get there, sold everything,
Wow.
buy car, quit my real estate business that I'd spent like 7 years or so, no, 5 years at that point setting up. Sold everything, got out of the country. Alice and I just went off with our little suitcases and a pair of dancing shoes, went to London, let's go. We're here, we want to be the best that we can possibly be, see how far we can take this.
That is courage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you. The first day I got there, I remember so clearly. I went down to the Starbucks cafe. I sat down and I'm like, how am I going to make money over here? Because I do not want a job. I am psychologically unemployable. I will get myself fired or they'll fire me very quickly. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
But I remember in year 9 dabbling in the internet. I got a $20 check in year 9 from affiliate marketing. And I remember that check because it left this impression, but I never followed it up. Funny how things come around. So it's okay if you don't follow the first time you do something you love. It's okay to let it go. If it comes back around, pay attention. Because I was sitting there and I went, affiliate marketing just popped in my head. I Googled the word affiliate marketing, and from that moment, I spent 8 hours a day in Starbucks for 2 years, learning how to build membership sites, learning how to blog, learning how to do video marketing. And this is just at the cusp of online courses coming
Wow,
out.
yeah.
So I was
when it
teaching
all taking
myself
off.
simultaneously building my skills as a dancer.
Yep.
Yeah.
In that 2 years, I taught the lady I worked with, not the lady I worked with, sorry, we were like the poorest dancers, right? Like we had a little bit of savings left. We were up in this tiny attic of a London house, that's very small. But the lady's house that we lived in, the family, we got to know them very well. She was a chef and she was such a good chef. So we're coming in every day smelling this beautiful food cooking.
amazing.
And we're like, oh my God, we're going to go upstairs and eat our jarred Indian again. And I said, look, you got something here. Your food is amazing, but you got to get this online. And so I sat down for a few nights once a month and taught her how to blog online. Now, 5 years later, the blog that she still does it. She has like hundreds of recipes on there. She just won a Pinterest competition in London a few months ago. She beat Jamie
wow.
Oliver, decorations,
Wow.
and some of the biggest players in the space for the
That's
best
amazing.
cake. She's been in the Daily Mail, the Guardian, the biggest newspapers over there from that. And I was like, I knew this stuff was working. And I also partnered and created the world's first streaming of dance sport competitions on the internet. Right? So I was learning all this, going, got to apply this. Like I was a sign. I was like, you got something, you got a passion? Let's get that online, baby.
Wow.
Because that's
I
where
love
you
it.
can make money.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can do it.
Well, we've got such a big audience online.
It's so amazing. Like seriously, I mean, think of eBay. eBay started when I can't remember the founder's name, but when the founder knew he was onto something.
Elon Musk. No, he did PayPal.
No,
Sorry.
no.
I've been waiting to drop his name because we talked about him lately.
Drop that right there. But
Let's pick it up, put it back.
eBay's crazy because this guy created a website in '94, I think it was, and he put some junk on there, and somebody bought for like $14 a broken laser pointer. And just out of curiosity, he called him and said, look,
Wow.
why did you buy that? He goes, I collect them. He hung up and went, he knew he had something. He's just like, people collect broken laser pointers. Now, if you stop and think about that, that's the power of an idea, right? Like he spotted it and went, holy crap, there is something here.
But I mean, it was brilliant because I mean, the rating system and everything else like that.
Oh yeah, all of
it's
that.
brilliant.
Keeps
It's
everyone
brilliant.
honest. Yeah.
But the fact he could connect and find
That's amazing.
those audiences, right? And that's what's there. That's how the internet works.
The internet has really made the economy grow quite
It's
a bit.
been a game changer.
It's a game
let's face
changer.
it.
Yeah.
And every time technology comes, that's what happens. And we're soon about to hit another one because you look at 100 years ago, most people, 99% of people, did farming.
Yes.
And then when
Agriculture,
the Industrial Revolution came along and tractors came along, a lot of people were pissed off. I mean, the Luddites in London
Went around destroying them.
destroying technology because they thought they were going to lose their jobs. But no one lost any jobs. They actually got better jobs. So instead of digging holes, they got to be teachers and lawyers and bankers and things like that.
A lot of people are a bit scared at the moment.
Well, they are because
Yeah.
the
Change
thing
is
is,
scary.
what happens is
yeah.
technology takes away the hard, repetitive jobs and then gives you the better jobs. And all you got to do is upskill.
Upskill, yeah.
And that happens. So I think we're going to get a lot more prosperity, because
I
the
agree.
prosperity that we got from the Industrial Revolution, the GDP
was
of the
immense.
world went up like 1,000-fold.
Yeah.
And this time it's going to be like 10,000-fold.
It's going to be enormous.
The internet added so much as well.
Yeah,
Totally.
And a fundamental level for like people listening is that they go, okay, I see the opportunity, I know these things are there, but change is hard for people to adapt to, right? Because we're so fixed, we're creatures of habit, right? So we get so fixed in, no, but my job, I must stay in this job and then retire. It's like, no, you don't understand. They could be taken away from you at any point.
Exactly.
That's
right.
That's not real security.
It never is.
no.
Where does the security
The
lie?
only security you've got is yourself.
There it is.
Because you invest in yourself through self-improving, you get security out of becoming better.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a self-education.
Totally.
Self-education.
That's
yeah.
but what I'm encouraging people to do is to not necessarily disclude things because I'm not techie, or I'm not an author, or I'm not a business person, or
No,
whatever,
that's right.
or not a real estate investor, because neither was I. I wasn't a dancer at 19, and I certainly wasn't involved in the internet at 2011. Right, like I just decided to,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I dedicated hours a day in my spare time, the leisure thing, to learning like a new skill.
That's right. See, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he did it a different way.
Right.
Because I met Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was in Melbourne.
That's awesome.
And really cool guy, the Terminator.
Did you arm wrestle him?
No.
No.
I didn't arm wrestle him. He's still pretty big. Anyway, and he was telling a story about his passion, because bodybuilding was his passion, and he became really good at it. And then after he left bodybuilding, what happened was his passion was films. He wanted to be in the movies. However, before he did that, he didn't have a lot of money. So he decided to use his brawn to set up a company to help doing renovations and stuff like that.
That's right.
And he got all these other bodybuilders in, and then he started investing in real estate. And when he got a passive income from real estate, then he could do what he loved.
See, that's a great idea.
And it was brilliant, because then he didn't have to accept any role. He could choose his role and move up. Because he reckons if it wasn't for his real estate investing, he wouldn't have got as good in Hollywood, because he would have been desperate and would have got shit roles, and he wouldn't have made it. Because it's all the matter of the path you take.
That's what you said before, which is so perfect for people to hear, is that we want to have the beautiful, big, bold ideas, and then we want to have like the practical strategies and tactical steps to actually implement to do it. But you have to be willing to learn, right? Like to learn how to do the investing, or how to build a website, or how to make a course.
Yeah.
And that's painful for people. But you know what? I mean, what the hell is the other option, in my opinion? It's like, do you know how much freedom you have when you can literally work whenever you want and do whatever you want? Like, that's great. And there's never enough money. Like, you're always going to want more. Like, I've found that as I get more prosperity, I want more prosperity, right? And I want to give more. I want to do more. So like, it's this ebb and flow of like, you continually skill, your results keep increasing, you keep expanding, and then your ideas get bigger.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
it's just this beautiful bubble. But as you do that, you actually get happier. And it's a beautiful place to be, right? But you have to learn how to do that. It's not, It doesn't just happen from listening to one book or
the
one
thing
podcast.
is, I guess anything good in life is not easy. That's the fact of it. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah, that's true. It's worth it though, right?
That's right.
Oh, look,
Worth it.
when you think about it, when you go on a holiday or go do something, what do you remember? Sometimes you remember the hard parts, and that's the most rewarding.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
like when we were overseas and we climbed that mountain, remember?
Which one? We climbed so many mountains.
Say, what mountain?
Okay, it wasn't a big one.
We climbed a lot of mountains.
We rode our bikes and we had to climb up and down.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And
yeah.
you know what? And it was exhausting, and that was the whole point. And now we think back and go, wow, that was awesome. You know what I
Literally
mean?
did like almost vertical like rock climbing. It was
That's intense.
full on.
Yeah. It was
Great,
Yeah.
without any equipment.
It was
Like,
tough.
This
No
Vietnam.
safety equipment.
This
So if you
Vietnam.
like slip, you're gonna die.
On a dance mountain, I don't do that. Like, my hands are way too manicured to like climb a big wall.
But,
you're intense. That's awesome.
It's the hard
was
things in
full
life
on.
that give you a lot of pleasure, and the things that you remember. You don't remember the days you lie on the pool, by the pool, and doing nothing.
Yeah, no.
True, yeah.
And that's the starting point for most people. They think, oh, I'll just travel. When I talk about leisure, they're like, I'll just travel. And maybe you're thinking that too, but that is only because your thinking can only get you there, because you've been trapped for so long.
Yep.
Once you've done that, what's next, right? And that's when it's like, oh, maybe I'd like to coach people. Maybe I'd like to give back in some way. Okay, then what? Like, how do you actually spend your days? It's called psychic income, right? So the question is, how would you spend your days even if you were never paid for it? And if you can answer that, you're on a really good, you got the first seed, if you will. And then it's a case of, okay, it's essentially a wheel of wealth. And so if you imagine a wheel, and in the middle, the circle is your psychic source of income, what you do to get joy out of life, even if you didn't get paid. But then you've got your strategies of streams of income coming in. So whether they're online courses, real estate investing, could be a licensing deal you put together or something like that, affiliate marketing, they're all streams of income. One could earn 100, one could earn 10,000, and if one drops off, your quality of life doesn't disappear. When I first heard that idea, I was like, I want to master that. That sounds incredible. What a way to live. 1% of the world do that. That's why they have 96% of the world's money. Right?
Absolutely.
That's what they do. People think they're greedy. It's like, no, they just leverage time, they leverage money differently to working for it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So you were doing affiliate deals, and that's how you started
affiliate marketing. Yeah, where you sell someone else's product online and earn a commission.
I tried that for a bit of a laugh once. I set up this website, and what happened was I forgot all about it. And I kept getting these checks from America.
That's awesome.
Right?
That's what can happen.
And I was wondering what was happening. And I set this website. It took me a couple of hours. And in those days, SEO was really easy. You just do a few things and you'd get up there, rank. You can't really do that now.
No.
But I probably earned about $1,000 US that year.
That's awesome.
And
just from
a couple of hours, 2 hours setting up a website and forgetting about it. And it took me a while. And then I looked at the check and it was like from
ClickBank.
The ClickBank, that's right. And I was like, ClickBank. And finally worked out where it came from, right?
Yes.
How funny is that?
Yeah. But you see, that's when people then go, oh, cool, I'm going to go earn money online. Then they get into like weird scams and like cryptocurrency and all sorts of crazy stuff. Yep. Where I've always come from is like, you got to do something that provides value, right? Like all business is about trading value, more value than what people pay.
Giving people value is the key to making money.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because that's the only sustainable way.
Right.
If you give people value, and more value you give, the easier it is to maintain that.
That's right.
So
but
that
if
means
you're not
quality
giving value,
content.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, you're right on the money. Now it's harder at first because it takes actually longer, and people will be like, "Why are you doing this?" So you have to be willing to go through the pain of change, right? Like people are going to say, "Why are you doing that? You think you're better than us. Like, why do you want to earn more money, or why do you want to try a different career? Why do you even want to quit your career?" Right? People have to face that, and that's where we always go back to the foundation, right? Having a coach to support you, having systems to study, right? Having things to know. I'm at this point in my journey, and when you break through, they all turn around and say, I knew you could do it, right? That's always the first thing. But the first are the ones that say, you're an idiot, don't do it. So you have to be willing to like sort of ignore that advice. If they don't have the results, just don't listen.
Look, the people around you are always going to try to pull you down, especially when you start. When I first started my first business, my second business, everyone said, you're in a really good job. So, why are you quitting to start your own business? And I just couldn't explain it to them. But I said, look, I just want the freedom and I just want to do something myself.
Right.
And it was the best thing I ever did. But everyone told me not to do it.
But in the moment.
But then I became very successful and everyone's like, yep, we knew you were going to do it. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you. It was totally like that.
It's like that. So there's a good saying, right? You have to do it alone, but you can't do it by yourself.
Yes.
So when you're in that moment, it's like, oh, this is tough, but there are people you can go to. Right?
Exactly. It's very hard mentally to do it when everyone tells you can't do it, and it's challenging.
That's right. Or you're used to like being around a certain group, and then all of a sudden they might treat you a little differently, or your ideas get bigger and it gets harder to conversate with them because they're not like in that mode.
Unfortunately, you can outgrow your friends.
Yeah.
That's
a good
true.
point.
It's unfortunate, it's sad, but sometimes if you become really successful, some people that you knew before don't feel comfortable around you anymore.
It's so strange though, because like what you want for yourself, you want for them, right?
Of course you
It's
do.
like the golden rule. It's like, dude, read this book.
Totally.
You almost feel like a Bible.
I know, and they're like,
read the book.
George, enough, right? Yeah, I know, exactly. Because I've always been very motivated and want everyone around me to be successful. And I'm like, do this. Invest in real estate. You've got to do it. And like, they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. You lead a horse to water. You can't make a drink.
Absolutely.
That's the fact of it. Which is sad, but that's the way life is. You know what I mean?
You just love them where they're at, and you continue your journey.
Yeah.
And that links back to purpose. Like everyone has unique skills, talents, and abilities, and it's up to them to go out and cultivate.
Getting the right mindset's difficult. That's not easy.
That's the thing, right?
Because we've been brainwashed through education and through society that this is what you're going to do, and getting out of that paradigm is very scary for people.
That's right.
Fear is false expectations appearing real, but fear holds people back.
Or it could be like, fuck everything and run.
Okay, yeah.
That's fight or flight mode.
That's
fuck everything and run. I haven't heard that one. That's good.
But it's true though.
This is no explicit. No,
that's all right.
I have to change the rating on this one.
I have to change the rating on that one.
He said truck. He didn't say the F word.
Awesome listeners. They're gonna love that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's the paradigm, right? Like that actually is an awesome point, because there's a term called praxis, right, which is integrating belief and behavior. And when I first heard this concept, I was like, oh, right.
Because it doesn't sound like a real word. Praxis.
No.
Yeah, it sounds like practice.
Practice,
yeah. Praxis.
Amazing word. So integrating belief and behaviour.
Yeah, and this is where the frustration and the tension inside people are. Because what happens is intellectually, on the conscious level, they understand the knowledge we're saying. They understand, they hear it, they go, this makes sense, I've heard it before, right? There's no new truth, I understand this. But they don't really have it on an emotional level where the behavior is. The behavior is on the subconscious or the unconscious mind, right?
Yep.
Anything there, that's where we operate from. The paradigm is there, the habits are there. That's where our actions come from, because how we think, we feel, we act, and that creates the result. And so what people try and do is change the result, but they never start where the thinking is. And so when we start to think and get bigger ideas, it causes this tension because all of a sudden a behavior's got to shift. But we're used to acting a certain way.
Yep.
So we're used to going in to our job at a certain time, making a certain amount of calls a day.
Watching TV,
not putting the papers away downstairs, right? Yeah. We're used to doing a certain thing. The change comes in, the new idea, there's this incongruency, it gets very hard. So we have to make sure that our thoughts and feelings and actions are in alignment. And that's what praxis is about. It's being aware of it though. And so you know that, you could look at it like this. You ask most people, is anything possible? And what do they say?
They say no.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Most people say yes to me.
They say yes.
My experience, my experience is people say yes.
People say yes. Yeah.
People say no to me.
Do they? Yeah. No, but if you just say, they'll say it flippantly.
They'll say yes.
Yeah.
They'll say it flippantly, but the no is true too. See, that's true too, Christina, because they don't believe it. So that's a no.
They say yes, but they don't believe it.
That's praxis. That's incongruency,
right?
And that's why they're so frustrated. So anything's possible. Meanwhile, they're sitting at home twiddling their thumbs because they're too scared.
Well, all these people are like saying, I want to be an internet millionaire, or I want to do this or that, but they sit home and watch TV for 3 hours.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because like TV is junk food for the mind.
That's
right. You want to be
right.
successful and you watch 3 hours of TV every day. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's part of the incongruency, right? So for people listening, like, be aware of the behavior that has to shift, but it starts in the mind.
So you got to create the right
notice
habits.
that inner conflict, right? It can disappear when you're in alignment and you're congruent and working towards your direction, your goal, wherever you're going. And it's something you're supposed to do. It's part of your purpose. It's the most phenomenal way to live. It really is. And it's very hard to explain to people because they think you're almost fake, but like, it's how life should be, really. And that's what giving yourself license is all about, or having a leisure life, if you will, is about.
And what I find really helps me personally is writing down what your one biggest goal for the day is, and then doing that to move forward with your goals.
To-do lists can be too long.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have one thing that you really focus on, what's going to give you the best result for what you're trying to achieve in your life? And I just agree. Do that.
And I think do the hardest thing first.
Yeah,
because you've got the most motivation. When you've got the most motivation to do one thing, because it's always easy to leave the hardest thing to last. And by the time you get to it, you're sort of like, I don't have the time. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah. That's happened to me quite often.
The hardest thing to last, yeah.
But now I do it first, get it over and done with, then the rest of the day.
That's a good productivity hack.
Yeah, so that's what helps me personally.
Yeah.
I think that's a really sort of good way to take action and make a good change in your life.
It's very good, yeah. Because goal setting can be quite tough for people. But I'll bring it back to Isaac Newton. He didn't set a goal to think, I'm going to discover gravity. That's going to be my thing in life. He sat there working diligently.
He was fascinated,
and
though.
He put himself in the right position. Apple fell on his head. Most people just get pissed off. He was ready. He didn't get pissed. He went,
Eureka.
Goddamn gravity, right?
Yeah.
Boom, and like it just hit him. And that's what I'm saying to most people. Like, you start off with a goal, but it will only be dictated by your past experience to an extent. If you get beyond, okay, I'm not going to let my past drag into my future. What could I possibly do? It's still going to be very small compared to what they could do, right? We'll talk about that with the coaching client later. What happened there? But that's what happens. So we don't know what we're actually capable of. Our possibilities are literally infinite, and that's a very hard concept for people to understand.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. You don't know until you really push, and you've got to be sort of in this habit of constantly pushing yourself.
So you're talking about getting out of your comfort zone? Is that what you're talking about?
Big time, yeah, absolutely.
Most people like being in their comfort zone.
Oh, they love it. It's comfortable.
Exactly. And because getting out of your comfort zone is uncomfortable, that's the challenge.
That's right.
So how do people get out of their comfort zone?
Awesome. Well, I suppose there's two ways to look at it. Most people wait till there's too much pain. Yeah. And they have to change.
That's
right?
true.
I prefer to opt on the other side of it.
Because you've got inspirational desperation.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. That's really good.
That's
it.
Desperation is a very big motivator for a lot of people.
It is.
But inspiration is probably a better way to do it.
I use both. Like, to be fair, there's there's a difference between negative influences and negative motivators.
Yeah.
Like I've used a lot of negative motivators in my life, meaning that the person that said you can't do it, right? The fact I couldn't break a certain record, or the fact I couldn't train hard enough. Like these little negative influence motivators I used, and they're really powerful when they're used. A negative influence is different. That's when somebody says you can't do it and you listen to it.
Yes.
Right.
Very
Because
different.
now you've accepted their idea, not your own.
Yep.
Right? And so that internal dialogue is very important to use as a fuel to project you where you want to go. Right? And that's really good. Then there's the inspirational side to keep that upbeat and going. But to get outside your comfort zone, you've just got to want it. It's very simple. Like you've got to want something bigger than your current situation and be super hungry for it.
The funny thing is, once you're out of your comfort zone stretches and becomes comfortable anyway.
Becomes comfortable again.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I quite enjoy getting out of my comfort zone. I do it on purpose.
That's right.
And Christina's like, what are you doing? But I do it. Like, we'll go overseas and I always try to push the boundaries because I find it exciting and I find it interesting being a little bit uncomfortable about something.
I like to sort of push the boundaries as well, I guess. And it's sort of fun, when you can walk into an event and you don't have to sort of show your ticket because you're just so confident, you just walk straight in.
That's awesome. That's a cool
We
one.
did that the other night. I've been getting Christina's become very confident now, super confident. Like, because we went to this thing and you had to buy tickets. It was like $150 a ticket. And I was Christina.
We had the tickets, but our friend who was already in had them.
Yeah.
And I thought,
But you just walked in.
instead of lining up,
we're not going to wait for him. So we just walked in like we owned
So
the
not
place.
only did we just walk straight in, we
They
got
stayed-
handed
I-
our drink
I
vouchers
told-
as well.
I
So
told
we
them
got
we're-
drinks straight away.
I actually told them we're VIPs, so they actually sent us to the VIP section too, which is great.
That's awesome.
It was a bit of fun.
That comfort zone thing, though, is interesting because there's a good saying, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space.
Exactly. I like that.
Right?
That's good.
And so,
That's
like,
good.
I coined that in the dance world. It's like what you do here is essentially, if you're not dancing on the edge of failure every day, you're not really living, because that's that push of the comfort zone every time. That's where the joy of life is, right?
Absolutely.
So it seems scary, but it actually is until you do it. And everything's a new experience for people when they first started life, right? And then at some point we just get conditioned to not try anymore.
Yep.
And no wonder people are so depressed.
But a new experience can be exciting
Totally.
for people too.
Yes,
You know
of
what I mean?
course. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the repression people are feeling. They're like they know they want to do something, and then they repress it internally. That turns to anger,
I think
which
fear of
turns to depression.
failure is a big thing as well.
of failure, yeah.
Because people are thinking, if I do quit my job to follow my dream, what if I fail? They think they might be worse off and be left homeless or something like that. So I guess it is a real sort of fear that people have. So what would be the best way for people to sort of, I guess, would you recommend, it's starting sort of on the side and then wait until you get a certain income happening and then quitting your job? Or, there's got to be a balance there because people have got to live.
No, of course. Yeah, you don't
Totally.
You see, part of the reason why it's good to have streams of income is because to be highly creative, which all this really is about, being creative and solving problems, is that you need money so you don't have to have. So you have all your needs taken care of.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's two ways of doing it, I suppose. One way is you create multiple stream of income part-time at night time and work for it.
The side
prove
hustle.
Prove that you can do it.
Yeah.
So that way, once you replace your income, then you can leave what you hate.
Yep.
Or there's one other way, burning the boats,
Yeah.
where you burn the boats and just do it.
Just do it.
Right?
Yeah. So you've
So,
got no other choice
yeah.
but to succeed.
And
You just keep
sometimes
going.
burning, and I've done that several times in my life because I've been super confident and I knew that I needed to burn the boats.
That's a good way
and
to do
just
it.
burn the boats and say, this
Yeah,
is what
I've
I'm
done
doing.
that too.
Yeah.
And then that's it, because that way you've got no choice. Because sometimes
That's right.
doing it part-time can take way too long and you're not really
And
in
use
it
up your
100%.
energy. Yeah.
But there's a balance there, and I think one way works for other people. I don't
Yeah.
suggest everyone go and burn the boats
No,
and
it
become
depends on-
homeless, but it depends on where you're at and what you're doing. But I think burning the boats is one strategy, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful statement that you
it's a
said.
scary thing to do
You
as
send
well.
a powerful statement to your unconscious mind when you
But
do that.
that comes from Hernando Cortez. He basically went on to Mexico to invade the Aztecs.
Yep.
And he said to his 500 soldiers, burn the boats. Basically saying,
Yep.
you win or you die.
And
that works at certain moments.
And
in
they
people's
fought
lives.
against 100,000.
Oh, they killed a lot of people. They did it though.
What, 500 people against 100,000?
Yeah.
They kicked ass.
Yeah, we're not
I
recommending
mean-
people actually become pyromaniacs.
Do not-
Burn the
do
boats
not-
is just,
it's a philosophy.
A philosophy.
He actually did it. But
He had big balls.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't condone what he did to the poor
Gold
natives, but he was very, had a lot. He was very strong.
He just wanted to succeed.
Coming back to your question, I think one of if we look at the mindset side of that fear of failure, I think people need to really understand, first of all, they're a creator, a co-creator.
Right.
They can and have already created the situation in their life where they're at. Now, when they first got there, they would have been super happy, and then they get complacent and comfortable. But they forgot that at one point they didn't have that, and they built it. So they've lost the fact that they have this ability within them to overcome anything.
Right.
The second thing then is the tactic, which is what you're saying before. You can burn the boats, you can then do the other thing. But the mindset you got to get, it's like, I can do this. I've done this before. Why couldn't I do the next step for me? Right? Because there is no certainty, right? Somebody could lose their job, a company can go out of business. It's happened with the biggest businesses in the world.
Anything can happen. Exactly.
So therefore, you have no choice. When I look at it and I tell people that, I'm like, you don't have a choice. You actually have to learn this, because somebody can take your future if so. So who's in control? You or other people? And they'll be like, well, other people say, well, you need to reclaim that power, right? You got to go back and understand that you create your life.
Well, you create everything in your world, because wherever you are and whatever's around you is a reflection of you.
That's right.
So
mirror.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is that people, it's the decisions that you work with, right? You set the decisions up, it puts out an attractive force, a certain level of vibration, and it brings back to you what you want. Now, when the first time you hear that, it's a bit unusual, but essentially everything in your life you attract, right? You don't get to decide if you attract what you attract unless you take a conscious control over the way you think, right? You got to get involved in better ideas, bigger ideas, like happy ideas, not negative ones, not fear, not scarcity, right? Not debt. Not lack. Like, that's going to kill you. So that's the first step. Think bigger.
Yeah, I think having the right thoughts is very important. But I think thoughts without the action are pretty useless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you need to act, because thoughts determine what you want.
Actions determine what you get.
That's right. Exactly.
What's the link? Praxis. Right?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
okay.
You just don't want to think, because anyone can think. That's why affirmations don't work, because they have to be put to the emotional heart. That's called an impression. And when they impress, they make you feel a different way. And that emotional impact is what changes people. But most people wait until a death or divorce, right, before something has to change.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah, we're talking about this on a conscious decision. Like, after this podcast, sit down, write down what you want, and then decide, and literally start to get in a movie, make a movie of it.
Actually, after this podcast, look at our goal setting.
Yes.
Because that'd be a really good podcast to look at. So
I'm really curious, how did you take this client from jobless to $620 million deal?
Good question.
So this guy was awesome. So he came to us last year, and basically he had been fired from his $300,000 a year job, which is a lot of money.
He was very comfortable in that,
That's
obviously.
a lot of money.
For him, it's very comfortable. That's a high-paying salary, right?
That's huge.
Totally.
And so
that's like $6 grand a week.
It's good money for what he had to do, and he was in an area he loved, property. He was always in property. He was an analyst, and so he came to sort of at this perfect juncture where he's like, look, I want to get into the property field, but I'm working on a very small 3-development townhouse right now of my own. And so we sat down with him and said, look, what do you really want? And he went to the usual things. I said, if you could earn anything you want, what would you earn? He's like, I'd earn $1 million. And we went through, okay, why do you want that? You know, the usual things you go through. Why do you actually want it? Which everyone always talks about.
What are you going to do with it?
What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
But he's like, money doesn't motivate me. And I'm like, good, money isn't the motivator, and don't worry about that. We've got to get through to break through your uncertainty of life. He's very risk averse.
Right.
So there was a series of exercises we went through where we helped him get way past that risk aversion, because he knew inside him he had the skills. See, now, please remember, people, you're not going to create a $500 million real estate
without the
deal
skills,
without
or the background, or the connections.
Totally.
You get the skills, the background, the connections.
He had some connections.
But it's a matter of getting the right mindset.
It's the mindset, because he'd never done anything like this, and that's what stops people. Even though he was in the industry, he's like, who am I? Right? He was quite an angry man, but not out loud, just internally. An ex-military man, very strong, really lovely guy. But he had to let go of his negative emotions to start with. That was number one. Number two, he had to learn how to become very grateful. Right? And this sounds like a cliche, but he didn't know how to be grateful, and it wasn't just saying I'm thankful. He would drive down the road and get pissed off because people were in the right lane blocking him off.
We don't thought
someone like that.
Right? Like he'd just be
wow,
so rageful. And it's like, and I knew we'd made a breakthrough within the first 2 months when he'd said, I drive down the road now and I'm happy for no reason. I'm like, you're getting it. And that's better than any of these transactions
awesome.
we're going to talk about. That's
Absolutely.
the win. But what was interesting was in the process, we were setting a goal. So it took 3 months to set a goal with this guy.
Wow.
And the reason for that is it's a very intellectual and emotional exercise, because it's not just as easy as writing something down when you get into it. You really got to work at it. So he worked through it. First goal he went from was, okay, if I logically do X, Y, and Z, in 3 years, I'll be able to build a small 20-unit development. I was like, no way, that's way too small. You could do that now if you wanted to. It's like, no, I couldn't. I said, yeah, you could. You just haven't decided, and you haven't done X, Y, and Z, which we can talk about later. So when he came back to me, he went, all right, I got it. I want a $20 million site. I want to work a $20 million site in the next year. I said, now you're starting to get there.
That's what I like it.
Think bigger. He's
Wow.
like, damn it. I was like, come on, man, what do you really want? Like, what do you really want? Seriously, like, decide now. Do you want to be known as an international property developer building skyscrapers around the world that are a certain type of caliber? Or do you want to be a retirement developer? What do you want to be? He's like, all right. So he came back and he goes, he sat down, he's like, boom, slammed the book down. He's like, I got my goal. Like, you could see it. He felt it. Right? He didn't just write it, he had it.
Wow.
In his mind. He goes, $1.2 billion. That's my goal. And we said,
huge.
Is that
What a goal.
Is that what you want? Is that what you want? Right? We're still pushing him. Is that what you really want? He's like, that's it. You could tell he was convinced.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
he had it. So what was cool is that in the process, this is the real quicker, not only was he more grateful, in the process of setting that goal, he'd partnered up on a $40 million site in town, profit sharing. So he's in, and a salary from the work. So he'd already got money coming in.
Yep.
Whereas you think at the beginning, he wouldn't even be there.
No, he was jobless.
Right?
Yeah, like,
Jobless,
wow, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so when we finished our sessions and we parted ways, he was in this really good habit of personal development. So recently, probably a month or two ago, completely out of thin air, he sent a sort of summary of where he's up to. And he's like, reconciled with my wife. My ex-wife, who I haven't spoken to for 5 years.
Wow.
My daughter, who I haven't spoken to in 2. My son needs a bit more time. But these were things that, when I asked him, do you want a relationship with them? He's like, no. I'm good if I never speak to them again. And I said, that's not actually true. You just can't see it at the moment. And so he ended up reconciling that. And I was like, how beautiful is that, right? And then he's like, on the business side of things, I'm now happy. I never work. I don't consider what I do work. That's the leisure.
That is leisure. That's right.
I never consider what I do work. I love what I do. My family's good. Oh, and I'm $620 million worth of projects now. I'm halfway to my $1.2 billion goal. And I was like, whoa, man. I said, I knew the process works, but that was fast, right?
That's amazing.
And it was amazing. And that email, I was like, I'm glad he emailed it, because I don't think people would believe it if I didn't have the written proof.
No, I've seen the email.
That story was incredible.
I've seen the email. It's excellent. Vaughan, that's an amazing result that you've created.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Huge. So you really have a big impact on people through helping them sort of do their praxis, whatever you do. It's amazing.
Praxis.
So praxis, that's it. Praxis.
Praxis.
And practice. It's such a funny word, isn't it?
So I guess, so how do people find out more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can visit vaughanliddicoat.com/theuglytruth.
Yep, and we'll put that link in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can find out a little more. We can do a little strategy session and work through. That's obviously a huge result. We've had lots of people that go through different
Not everyone's
levels
going to
of
make $1
things.
billion. I get that.
Well, and that's a good financial disclaimer. He was primed, but I want people to take something away from that. It's like you were primed. You're at the cusp of something, right? And you just need someone to help you see what you probably can't.
Yeah, I'm really amazed how he wasn't sure what he wanted, and you kept pushing him until he had it right there with the emotions.
He knew he
and
had it.
that's amazing, because he knew and you knew. It was what a great process. Very exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
And that's what I love doing, right? You were talking about what do you love to do? That's it. Is working with people and bringing them out.
That must be very fulfilling for you.
It is the most fulfilling.
How great is it when you help a client and they've done really well? It's fantastic.
And you help me without even knowing
That's
it.
right. And we can all have a little dance and celebrate, right?
Beautiful. Exactly. So look, guys, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Vaughan, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
It's been a pleasure. It's been great and very educational for us.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure everyone out there is going to love this. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
And I'll also put the link in the description.
Great. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for listening. It's been awesome being here.
Excellent.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. See ya.
For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to theuglytruth.blog.